So what's up, man? It's the first time I see you in a minute, man. What's going on, man? It's the first time the listeners that didn't talk to you in a minute, man. This is, you and I were talking on the side a little bit, about some things, but man, you've been through a lot since our last interview, and I've been through a lot since our last interview. So, um, I wanted to do this episode with you, man. And kind of touch bases and catch up and just fill you in. But before we get started, let me tell you a quick little. So this is my coffee cup, right? So this is
Yeah.
the theater, right? That I got the
Okay.
that I
Yeah,
got the
yeah.
cup from. They gave me a cup. But so when I get the cup, right, because I've never seen a cup like this before. So when I first got the cup was like jet black, like this here. The whole cup was black, and I couldn't see none of this stuff. I could barely make out this design right here, right? So I'm like, well, man, this cup, it's just a nice cup, but it really ain't come out the way, it didn't come out that good. So I put the coffee in there, and then this happened. And I'm like, man, that is cool as hell, man.
Okay. Went off the heat of the
And
of the
as I
coffee,
drink
and
the
then
coffee and it cools down, the black starts
okay.
to come back and take over.
So you thought you knew, but you didn't know.
That's
Did it?
exactly right, man. That's the moral to the story is,
Yeah.
is not everything is as it appears, you know.
Yeah. It's like God's plan, man.
And at first glance, um, without truly knowing the element of what it was, I kind of disregarded it, you know. And then now it turns out to be one of my favorite cups. And thank you, Brevo, for the experience. But we're gonna get into that, all of that in this show here. But let's start with you, Mr. Mordecai Miller. For those that do not know, this is Mordecai Miller
Of
back
course
on
they
the
wouldn't know, man.
the Thomas FreeMe TV and podcast show. If you have not caught the first episode, I implore that you do go back and catch that episode. Is a very, very powerful discussion that Mr. Mordecai and I have. And things kind of spiraled out of control. He was in a turbulent time, I was in a turbulent time. And let's have it, man. What happened? What's going on with you, brother?
Oh man. No more papers, I just have to go ahead and get out the way. First of all, thank you, Lord, my Savior, Jesus Christ, for us being able to have this meeting, man. And
Yeah.
it's funny is, it's at the same spot, that the first one was. Well, obviously it wasn't the last one, but uh the same window, same lighting. I'd say even, the month down the line, way different guy now, way different man. Considering, just getting out of Rice Street, Fulton County. Shout out to anybody who's locked down, man, right or wrong or whatever's going on, you know, shout out to anybody that's locked down. It's during this pandemic or just period or just, especially just during everything that's going on in the world, to be still highly wanted, as a human being, pretty much, to just be able to be stored away. Uh, Crazy. So, I'm always praying for us who are re-entering over and over again or going back in or however, it's all going down for you.
Well,
Uh,
going back to then, we did that interview, and in that discussion, you were describing some of the woes that you were facing day to day, and so what happened, Mordecai? What how did you end up putting or going back to jail cell?
being being out down in the Southwest Atlanta area, was doing a security job actually, and then was accused of armed robbery with a comb after asking somebody to leave the premises after being very belligerent to customers, someone that wasn't liked because of being a part of the street, but also being homeless in that area, um, but panhandling and basically, not making the area presentable for people to want to come do business. So anyway, that individual leaves, tells the police that I tried to rob him with a comb.
How how difficult is it for us in these situations where really like yourself, some of the very few jobs that are open to us are jobs that can potentially land us back in jail? Security work, just aggressive work, bouncers, bodyguards, things of that nature, where we're kind of used because of our demeanor, our size, things of that nature, um, and portrayed as tough guys or violent guys. And then this occurs, and then what kind of leg do you have to stand on? So how often does this happen to us in the communities where we're forced into these positions to survive, and then what happens like with you?
I mean, so many ways to look at it. Now that the tests have been, passed. Um, and I say it like that is because even in the midst of battling, also separation from family at that time going on. I mean, can't say everybody, but millions of people are struggling as far as even if it's just financially, business wise, employee wise, anything. Going through the same things just that others were going through, but fighting without relapsing on cocaine, which that's my drug of choice, which I'm always going to be proud of because it could be a whole lot worse. So much was just going on with just trying to hold it together, period. But that right there, and even with them knowing that I'm a United States Marine Corps veteran, and I will say that as well because that was mocked, on body cam. It was mocked at me. People around there who know me with different businesses, were being witnesses, were trying to ask and see what's going on. The Veteran Justice Outreach Program did nothing but send a social worker, and I still haven't seen that gentleman to this day.
Mm.
Spiritually, I advanced to where I need to be able to even do this interview, for one. Two, once I stopped being mad, which even also fuels you to be able to want to make sure that things are shared. At being a Marine, being a grunt, I understand that my walk for us as believers and disciples to understand that we're in the spiritual warfare. So it's when it blends with the reality of things and what your trials and tribulations and what you're going through, you just understand that some of the best training is to be able to actually go through something, even if it's the worst experience. That happened right after I got certified with Lee Robbins' reentry program. On July 8th, I had graduated. I got arrested July 28th. And at that time, I also lost cousins I saw and rekindled with family. Had seen my mother. My mother made a beautiful accomplishment up in Indiana with the American Legion. That was also the last time I saw my stepfather, who I loved very much. He passed away while I was locked up. So, in 6 or 7 months, things can really change anyway. And have no way to let anybody even know. My ex, which was my ex-wife, was always a go-to because we were together for so long. But, having a disconnect now from family, but the disconnect was already going on before. It just made it even worse. But ultimately, it was just about getting closer to the Most High anyway.
Well,
and really seeing how bad how bad our politicians are,
well,
not how bad they
that's.
are, how much worse they're getting. You know what I'm saying? Like how much worse they're getting.
I don't even think that it's getting that they're getting worse. I think that they're just becoming more blatant, right? It's more in your face now because I think that these politicians actually think that they've gained full control over us, and now it's just in your face. You see it from Pelosi, you see it from Harris, you definitely see it from Biden, you see it from these representatives where it's just in your face as to this is what we're doing, this is what we're telling you that we're doing, and it's too bad. But I wanted to respond on what you had said about the programming and things like that because a general consensus, especially.
Hey, bro, and what I missed, like somebody had called me, so I had to decline the call. So the thing was still going, but I couldn't hear you because it was ringing in my ears. Like I know I missed like something very important.
Well, no, it's just what I was saying is that I don't think that it's so much as the politicians getting worse. It's just they're becoming more blatant. It's more in your face because they feel like they've gained control over the American people, and now it's almost as if
Well,
it's just in your face. You could see it with Pelosi, Biden, Harris, all of them. But I wanted to go back real quick before we touch on that, on what you had said about the programming, because what you said is very important and it's very powerful because we have a lot, the blue collar American stigmatic viewpoint is when they hear somebody's story like yours, the first thing that they want to say is that here's an individual that's making excuses for himself. There's programs out there. Go get a program. There's plenty of opportunity. You even have some of these white liberals saying now, that you're a black man. There's plenty of opportunity and programs for black individuals these days. So when you hear these, right, how much, and this question is for the listeners because I know you, right? But the question is, how much are you really making excuses for yourself versus really trying to get programs that can help you because you want to be successful?
you know what? This is there's excuses for a lot of things. Matter of fact, a lot of what we all go through were built off excuses. You know, even rich people make excuses. They just know how to get paid for them. But at the end of the day, they're facts. And when you can say something's factual is because you've actually had them. I would say unfortunately, but fortunately, I did become a part of the system to understand to first of all not care when someone's trying to make me feel bad about what I've been through, because that's how I know that it's that bad or that's what the law is, or I grunted it. Most people don't finish probation and parole. I owe nothing. I will give God the glory in wherever aspect it was, because I've been to Cobb County. I thought that was the worst. I've been to Hillsborough County. That's where it's ever even started for me. And Rice Street, Fulton County, is worse than Cobb. I mean, I say it this way, since I go ahead and pick up why I say anything about politicians, is because a lot of them don't know what it is like it is on the inside. They don't even know the beast that they've created. They don't know the lies and excuses that they've given us as a people has really has us being treated just as an individual. No, for an individual breathing. With statute of limitations that keep borders of when someone will be indicted, when, how, and how long. And I would say I've been successful in just being able to survive it, to grow spiritually, to know that, I mean, I have family mad at me right now because they saw armed robbery. They don't know the logistics. They don't know my story, which no one ever does until, hey, I come on someone's show, or I put it on my own show, or I'll let someone know when I meet you.
Do you think that's because of your past actions, or just judging you based upon your past and saying, I know that Mordecai did this because he's done it before or whatever?
I've never even got charged for an armed robbery. I'm a violent offender. Don't get me wrong. That's not even just due to having PTSD or whatever, just trauma, period. Being an addict for years and still a recovering addict. From serving the country to growing up military to just seeing so many different things, period, in my life. But just knowing who I am, what I'm here to do, I understand ultimately that the adversary doesn't want me to accomplish what I'm here for. And part of what I'm here for, as far as being able to help those in vulnerable situations in all type of ways, because I've been homeless as well. I'm in the midst of transition now. Now being able to see my family, and all of it, yeah, it's systematic, but it's, a lot of it is, but then it's, it's all for the greater good at the end of the day, the whole big picture. It's going to help build the kingdom and save a lot of souls.
So this is Mordecai Miller. This is the Thomas FreeMe TV and Podcast show. If you haven't caught the prior episode, Mordecai breaks down all his transgressions and stuff from the past and how he got to this point. Now, with that being said, so you get this charge, and then what happens? You go into the jail, because the last I talked to you, right, like you and I were, because you knew I was going through some things, in the toxic environment that I was with the woman I was at the time. And you also knew that things were getting to the point to where, like, my freedom was being in jeopardy, and at that point, you and I were kind of discussing. You're like, hey man, I got this apartment up here, just come up here for a while, blah blah blah. That's really the last discussion that I had with you, and then you just disappeared off the face of the earth. So you're in jail now for this charge. What happens?
So I go to first appearance. They give me a $5,000 good bond, which was already supposedly be low for armed robbery anyway. They say it's supposed to start off around 10. So a good bond, of course, if I had any trustworthy or even had access to even $200 of that, could have maybe 300 would have got me bonded out, but that just wasn't acceptable. I mean, so anyway, they give me that bond. I don't go to court again, and I had just finished probation, misdemeanor and felony, but was still due for 1 month call-in before that happened for August.
So technically, you were still on probation for 1 more month. You had 1 more call-in, and then you were done.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I didn't owe any money, and my supervision fees have been waived. So, and I was still on extended leave of absence from the job because of my health with the low blood pressure. So, get in there, first appearance. Don't go to court again until January 5th of 2022.
So that's 6 months.
Yeah. And that was a bond hearing. So my public defender, which was my second public defender, because my first one I talked to once and never even saw or seen, barely seeing my mental health provider for the VA, which obviously I had already signed a release for them to be able to, my medication for my PTSD, my bipolar, to the VA and all.
So what was the purpose? What was the reason for that? They had you in jail for 6 months. What could you do?
With nothing either, no victim, no harm to anybody, no no comb, definitely. I mean, uh,
Mm.
so that my bond gets lowered down to 2,500 on that day, on the 5th. And I heard about a nonprofit called the Bell Project, bellproject.org. And if your bond is no more than $5,000, no matter what it is, and they do an intake with you and decide to pay your bond to the actual jail, no bail bonds or nothing like that. You get bonded out. I didn't know about that until that day. So somebody was blessed me to be able to get a three-way. You know how that goes. I called these people on three-way. I leave a voicemail. The other gentleman leaves his information as well, so they can call him back. Because now, I'm budgeting out my calls, and when I can call certain individuals that will really do something for me. And all these people God put in my life, but they weren't my family. You know what I'm saying? It never did. Definitely wasn't, my ex-wife anymore. Some way that it ended up my this place here that I'm still in, the keys ended up in her hands, which I can't be mad about. But at the end of the day, we weren't in each other's business like that. We gave each other back our keys, and then she was able to have it, but the last people here before they got bought out helped save my place. To a degree. Now, I mean, I'm overlapping going in again, that like it was even before it happened, but they're still assisting and being that, and so it's barely here, but it's here, and that was just by the goodness of God, because between here and a reentry program, I haven't had to be on the street but one night, but that was a free night, brother. No probation, man, or nothing. I don't owe these girls no money.
How long has it been since you felt that?
Since the end of 07, because going into the beginning of 08 is when all this craziness started. I'm from Marietta, Georgia, Cobb County.
So you have no ties to you whatsoever right now?
No, I definitely still got to go to court, though. My preliminary hearing was changed because I wasn't incarcerated anymore, but I don't owe the nonprofit any money. I check in with the guy once a week, just not that tied to bail or nothing, but they at least gotta know that I went to court, which they put off because I'm free now, and they have up to 4 years to indict me. So they just keep using the pandemic that they put it off. But the judge said that next preliminary that she's gonna throw it out. The bond hearing just wasn't for that to happen. But
So this charge is still lingering then? You still have to go face this charge?
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, I haven't been convicted of it. I haven't pleaded guilty or any plea on it. I haven't even gone over what they saw on the body cams.
And that's why, and I want you to detail it the way that you have, what you've done so beautifully, because I want people to really understand how hard it is to get out of this system, to get away from it. It's like quicksand, man. It's just so hard to get yourself up out of it because it's constantly trying to suck you back into it.
And I didn't stop there with that Veterans Justice Outreach Program. I went on the computer, man. That social worker that came and saw me, you're talking in November, like right before Thanksgiving. Back and forth with they on the inside, the mental health director is telling me, with the social workers and stuff like that, telling me, oh, well, first of all, you give me a discharge summary saying that I'm going to Fort McPherson. I have an honorable discharge. We got all that out the way. My blood work's coming back, so I'm taking my medication. I've been in an altercation in there, a couple altercations as far as self-defense wise or whatever. But that doesn't go against what's going on with me. I did do 28 days as far as hold time for that, but that couldn't be done because of the pandemic on the inside. they are testing almost every week. The law libraries seem to go out of whack here and there on the kiosks, so I guess you ain't no guessing. So you can't. So the ones who can read don't read. Mm-hmm. There's no books in there, and you're signing up for religious services that you're not going to go to.
How, like when you mention these altercations, right? Because we say it like as if it's just common ground. We know that it's just, you're going to go to jail, you're going to get into a fight, you're going to get into an altercation. But like, how do these altercations happen? Why do they happen? You know, why is that just a common thing to know that you're going to get into an altercation when you go into jail?
Because it's the home of anger.
Mm. Mm. And how does altercations begin? Like, you come out of your cell, you're just going to get breakfast, whatever. Like, how does that turn into physical violence?
You know, me individually, I know it's not against flesh and blood. You know, I get it, but you know that the enemy has his vessels he taps into, and you know, and so does the Holy Spirit. So, but sometimes in places like that, you know, it's already, it's just this anger and pressure. You know, it's not like it's really being. They're not using it to be a place for them to be shown while they're on the inside on how to not be like that. That's any of us, you know, because once you've been locked up, you don't come out the same. Lord willingly, you know, you come out more spiritual if you decide to talk to God a lot more. And then if that's what it takes, that's fine. But there's nothing to help people manage themselves, you know, better as an individual. You know, you got more killing going on. There's as much killing going on as it's even like it's prison. It's not even it. A lot of anger.
Well, that's,
you know, a lot of trauma. People with all kind of trauma. You know, it's the bad side of a mental hospital. You know, a rehabilitation center where you're not being rehabilitated. You know, putting TV in a dorm is not rehabilitating anybody. Letting people have access to tablets to just buy movies and music, commissary, you know.
Mm-hmm. And that's how it was for me. I guess it was waking up, like as soon as my eyes opened up, you know, I was tired. You know what I mean? I was just tired from just knowing what the day was going to bring, you know. So you kind of just, it's like you have no hope. You know what I mean? You already know what the day is going to bring. There's nothing positive is going to come out of this day unless I force it out of some small crack somewhere. And we look for these things, but they're very hard to find. It's very, very elusive, you know, positivity in prison. So it's knowing that it's just everything, man. You know, the disrespect, maybe you have a disrespectful cellie, you know what I mean? And just, he's not mindful of anybody else but himself. And he's doing things in the cell just to purposely agitate you. You know what I mean? Because he's got internal issues, as you've described this. So it's just dealing with somebody like that and trying to avoid altercation. And you try to avoid this altercation as much as possible, because altercations in jail are not like out here where you hit somebody once or twice and then, you know, a bunch of people break it up or whatnot. Like, you're fighting, you know what I mean? Like, you're fighting. And if you don't know how to fight, depending on the empathy level or the person that you're fighting, he may stop, he may not, who knows? You know, who knows where his mind will go. So it's knowing that in the back of your mind that this isn't just some schoolyard fight. Like, this is life or death, you know, and it's every altercation is like that, you know. So
you don't know who carrying the shank, and you know, and
you don't know anything.
You know what I'm saying?
You don't know anything. You don't know whether this guy's going to knock you out and rape you. You don't know what his intentions are. You don't know anything. You know what I mean? So you become a machine, essentially. And then, at least with me, starting to understand that after so many altercations, that it actually start feeling good to release that anger in that way. You know, and as far as pedophilia coming into the prison, these were just, at that time, these were just open playgrounds. These were just, hey, here you go have fun with this guy, you know, go release on this guy. And I just started getting deeper and deeper, as you said, into this anger element, because there's nothing positive around you to counterbalance that negativity, that hostile, that anger. It's just building and building.
And that's where, you know, when you, like me, focusing more on my walk with Christ, like, you know, really challenging that whole be the light. You know, and it's always going to be that challenge, because wanting to be a light, or just marked like that as the son of God, you know, or a child of God, there's almost like, how you want to say it? Nobody wants to see that.
Amen.
Nobody. And then you're like, even on the night, even if you just being who you are, you know, my thing is, this is my regimen. You get me? It's very easy. It's pretty narrow with me. You know, and this is my first time at Rice Street. I never, but when I'm doing my cycle of time, whatever, however this long is going to be, whatever it's going to be, just walking my journey is happening right now. Then it's okay. I'm in this world right now. Then my thing is spiritually, and there's been a couple of times, you know, get my hands on some weed or something like that. I've smoked. It's crazy how easy it always is to bleed the black market into a place that's already, you know, going to be a dungeon because of the demons that everyone has, and the trauma and the mentalities. And even I've even met some pastors and ministers, you know, who choose to say they'll have that label, and you know, they switch or change or show sides of them, either for survival or, you know, just to, you know, be able to get a soup out of somebody. So, you know, you see a lot of, you're always going to see the world for what it is, no matter where you are. No, but then
if you're conscious to it.
Yeah, you're conscious to it. But the younger generation under me, let alone you, and oh my God.
Well, I mean, this is kind of what we're going to get into as well, you know, is moving from that experience, you know, while you're going through all of that, you know, I'm battling my own demons inside my own little prison that I formed, you know, with this toxic relationship that I was in. And I knew that I had to get out, you know. You and I had made these plans, and then I couldn't hear from you anymore. But, you know, now moving into August, like, I'm at the point to where I'm like, you know what, I'm just done with this, because I deserve better than this. No matter who I am or what I've done, I don't deserve to keep being persecuted, you know. And I think the thing of it was when she told me, you know, that I have not, you know, that I still owed society, that I didn't pay my debts. Just because I go to prison don't mean that I pay my debts to society and things like that. And when that comment came out, it was kind of nerve ending for me, because I knew that I was dealing with somebody that doesn't even try to take what I've gone through into consideration. And I'm viewed, and she's viewing me as stigmatic America views all returning citizens. You know what I mean? And I realized, for a person that hasn't never even experienced an iota of what I've went through, to have a judgment or a say in whether I serve my debt to society or not, I just knew that wasn't a person that I wanted to sleep next to anymore, And and that was kind of it, and from that point on, a couple of weeks after that, I just left, and every time I try to leave, it was just a drama show. So this particular time, I just threw a couple shirts and a couple pants in my little duffel bag, and I just left, and I never came back. All my stuff is still over there. I had a recent email conversation with her, and she's saying that she boxed my stuff up and is mailing it to me. That just shows the amount of respect that this person had for me as a human being. Any property I had of hers, I just dropped it off there at the house on the porch, and she collected it. But my stuff is, and some of these are valuables that I've carried around as a child, that, as traumatic as my childhood was, these things helped me. Baseball cards, I have a baseball card collection that, as a child, I would just go through these baseball cards in the midst of everything going on in my life as a child. I would organize them, and I would just play with these things. And I carried these cards around with me my whole life, and she just callously puts them in boxes and sends them through the postal service. So it is what it is, partner. Like you say, at this point, you come to where you say that life is a better teacher than me. Life is a better teacher than me, and God isn't sleeping. So, but I left. I had a friend down south who had a place for me for a little while, and I go down there, start getting set up, but then he fell into some things, and then I had to leave the place that I was in, and things got shifty, and then I ended up catching COVID. But man, let me tell you, man, God sends angels in your life when you least expect it, partner. When you least expect it, because the friend's house that I was staying in down south was an elderly gentleman, right? So I couldn't stay in his house. I had nowhere to go. I had absolutely nowhere to go, nothing to do. But I met somebody while I was down there who happened to be in an executive class of a hotel chain, and she put me in a hotel for a week and a half. You know what I mean? At her chain. So I was just in this hotel, and I got over the COVID or whatnot. And some of that's documented on my YouTube or whatnot. And that was it. I healed. I came back home to mom's house. You know what I mean? My mom's elderly, and she's been alone her whole life. So I decided just to come back here and take care of Mom Dukes. She could take care of me a little bit, help me get back on my feet. I could take care of her, because this is where the true love is really at, and where I really feel, cared for. My mom ain't going to judge me in any kind of way, and that's who's always been there for me is my parents, at the end of the day, no matter what. And that's it. So it's I lost a lot. I lost everything in this deal with this woman, because again, the consequences of our actions and the way that this prison industrial system is laid out, I have to put things in other people's names if I want any kind of life above a ghetto life, an impoverished life, because I'm subjected to have to stay in the poor communities because of my felony conviction. So of course, everything was in her name. So everything I've been building on since I came home from prison was again taken from me with the sweep of a hand, and there's nothing I can do about it. But I have my foundation. I have my YouTube, my podcast.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that's
You got
where
your voice.
that I got my voice, you know, and I got my experience, and none of that can be taken from me, you know.
Man, you about to take a walk, man.
So it's just these experiences, you know, and having faith in myself, knowing what I can accomplish and what I can do. And that led me into, you know, my first theater performance. You know, my first theater performance
Right.
in a
Yeah.
in a theater that's being built by two wonderful individuals, man. Two wonderful human beings that I'll discuss a little bit in my joy with them. But this was their first performance for their theater that they've opened up, you know, and they knew that I've never had theatrical experience. You know, they knew that these were my first speaking lines, and these people, man, put their faith in me that I could perform and bring the best that I had, you know, and it was a lifelong experience for me, because this is the first time that I've really been out, that I went out somewhere and put myself in an environment, into an element where nobody knew anything about me. They knew nothing about Thomas FreeMe, nothing at all. And they were just, I was presenting myself for who I was in that moment. They had no idea about my criminal history. They had no idea. They didn't even know that I had no professional experience until I disclosed that. So that was an experience for me. And it was these young, I was the oldest out of everybody by at least almost 10 years. So that was an experience for me, an eye opener, especially as where our younger generation is kind of at. Which I had some of these discussions with you, you know, over this period.
Yeah, I know. And then guess what? You know what I mean? Just some great things. Things of the unexpected, or that you weren't ready for. You know, your mug changed.
Right.
You know, just like the one changes once you put that coffee into it. But it takes heat for it to change.
Look at you, man. Boy, that's powerful.
That's the heat, man. You know what I'm saying? That's how I took 901 Rice Street. You know what I mean? At least I got fasting going more in my regimen and my walk. You know, different things changing that. Yes, ma'am. But now I'm just outside because I have to get some fresh air. But yeah, man, you know, I get the, you know, the Shadrach and Meshach and Abednego phases that we go through.
Mm-hmm.
It's all good. I mean, I miss my son, of course. You know, I've talked to him. I still haven't seen him since pre-kindergarten. Last time around that time, me and you were talking as well.
Mm-hmm.
I did see my ex, you know. But that's because it was an accident on 85. Ended up having to go a route that's not too far from where she lived, but she happened to be on the road. I figured that as a good thing, you know. Because, you know, a lot of anger is gone now. There's things I can blame on that, or, you know, definitely start blaming myself moreover. I know where it's going to be, so I don't want to dwell on what it's not. It is right now. But, you know, baggage is baggage. And I just getting myself in a position to where I just for God to just use me, man. You know, whether it be like motivational speaking, whether it be whatever it is, going to be able to start connecting with people using these certifications I'm blessed with, man, and for us to, you know, like you said the other day, really put ourselves out here, man. You know, letting people know what's going on. You know,
and it's hard, man, because it just, I don't know, man. It just seems like every time criminal justice reform starts to get a ball moving in some sense, some global atrocity starts. And of course, criminal justice is the last thing anybody wants to talk about when we have all of these other issues going on. But for us, like, we turn blue in the face because we understand, especially me, I understand the detriment of what's going on with this prison industrial system and how it is killing our school system, how it's killing our communities. And we cannot get the American people to understand and stand behind it because we're labeled as criminals. We're labeled as excuse makers and crybabies and environmental, excuses and just all of these things. And we just
but
can't
they want to
get
make money off us when it comes. But they don't want to make money. Excuse me. But then they want to make money off us when it comes to sober living programs. You know what I'm saying? That you charging like it's Airbnb and hotel rates. You know what I mean? And use the whatever poverty level is around you in the environment of where people are coming from and battling with anyway. On their week to paying Waffle House jobs, which I know about that just because I'm still even a grill operator at one.
Mm-hmm.
Just so you can pay weekly fees or whatever. So at the end of the day, if they're not using that as or them standing behind it, which then again, they think that gives them a reason to even say, that they're doing something great and good.
Right.
And they don't even know the full course of the struggle of it. It just makes them look good when it comes for them asking people for money.
Right. When it
because
comes
they're
to
not using all their own money.
That's right. That's right. So these
grants for it or whatever.
These companies that are standing out and saying that they're hiring felonies, they're felon-friendly companies and all of that is because they're getting grants for hiring these felons. Right. There's perks for them hiring these felons. But what's really going on with these felons? Are they advancing within the company or are they just being enslaved at the bottom with no advancement? Because I don't see any of these felons becoming executives. You know what I mean? So how far is it that they're really willing to go? And are they just hiring these felons just for the grant money and for the label of being felon friendly? There's a difference. So, and speaking in that, it's like this. So I posted just a short while ago, and it happens to be going kind of viral on TikTok now, right? But it's in Charlotte County, an accused pedophile was found dead in his cell with fabric tied around his neck, right? And he had, just disgusting, like these pedophiles, multiple counts in different areas, but the point of what I'm saying is, I post this video and it already has 30 or 40 comments. And the comments are release the man who is responsible for heroic acts. Good, should have been killed before even hitting the jail cell. Nothing wrong with that. Good riddance. One says Trump supporter. Another says, finally, some good news I hear. Another one, that's good. We just saved tax money on the trial. Another one says, justice served. Another one says, gotta love a happy ending. So, and I understand the sentiments. And my point really isn't so much about the sentiments, but it's more along the lines of what we were just discussing as far as we cheer on these inmates. Right. We chant them and we cheer them on when they do an act that we agree with, even though that it's breaking the law, it's okay for us to do that because we're doing something, as they say, jailhouse justice and things that the American citizen agrees with, the disposal of pedophiles. Right. Everybody's in agreement with that. And they love the fact that there are individuals that are willing to do that for them. But now the individual that did that, now when he comes home, how is he looked upon in the community? He's looked upon as a violent criminal. We don't want him. Send him back to jail. So it's the hypocrisy. It's the double standards within all of us. picking and choosing what law is
Yeah.
okay to break and picking and choosing what law is not okay to break, and then pointing the fingers at the ones who chooses to break a law that we don't agree with. But it's okay for me to go out and break a law that, so it's that all of that has to stop, because this is what is causing the prison industrial system to operate and keep moving. If we welcome these returning citizens back into the community, help them get jobs, help them get established as good community civilians, the prison industrial system will shut down.
It took about 4 or 5 supervisors to start having a couple social workers start calling me. Knew a director over there, over the volunteer area over there at the VA, Dr. Cooper. He was also a veteran. Told him about it, put me on some emails. Before you know it, now they want to try to get back straight and then okay. And then I got a Marine brother of mine, gave me to connect to the director of it actually over there at Fort McPherson, who I'll be giving a call with this week. See, I'm going to fight back the way I can. Because if I at least try, because that's one thing they don't expect us to do after being locked up either, is actually fight back and still use our voice to let you know that there really is just certain things I was not supposed to be putting up with while I was in there.
Mm-hmm.
Period. Start walking all over me. We're always going to be fighting though. Even when I stay off the people.
Once again, this is Mordecai Miller. We've been talking with Mordecai Miller. If you haven't caught the past episode, please go back and review that, listen to that. And we've just been discussing life in general of what's transpired since the last episode. If any of the listeners would like to help Mordecai, you can Cash App me or Mordecai. He'll give his Cash App. I have merchandise in my store at www.streamlabs.com/FreeMe Podcast /merch. You can purchase that. And if you leave a note on the purchase, Mordecai Miller or MM, then the proceeds will go to him to help him try to get established and what he needs. What do you need, man? What you need to get up on your feet, partner?
Man, a bunch of prayer, because that's what always works. And I'm really just want people to keep tuning in, you know what I'm saying? Keep supporting people, not just of our statue or what we've been through, but, pour into somebody that, and mean it genuinely, you know what I'm saying? Me, it's easier to get things from people with a nonprofit. I hate I had to say it like that. But I'm learning the business on both sides with a lot of different things. And it's almost like I'd rather just legally ask people for money with a platform than when you can prove what your platform stands for so much, but just to speak about it, than having an office and a nice whip or a nice house. I do have a suit. I just don't have a reason to wear it yet.
Yeah. All of that's coming. No, and we're going to, like with my foundation, man, we're going to start establishing, first and foremost, community centers where individuals can reach out to us that are having issues mentally. They're unstable. And maybe these counselors, as we clearly define, these social workers, these counselors, they don't care. They don't care. And there's so many individuals out there that feel hopeless.
You know what we need? We need shipping containers. That's what me and you need, so we can build our own reentry home. We need shipping containers. We got to build it. So anyone who's really about running, want to help us, we want to be able to help people with this housing situation. It's horrible. You know what I'm saying? Just being able to put people off the street helps a whole lot. Where they don't have to feel like they already feel like they're indebted to society. So, don't let them come in already, piling up debt with you if you're really helping them.
Mm-hmm. Shipping containers.
So, shipping containers, man. You want to build some reentry homes for reentry of every level there is, especially even coming out of the military. Again, This is something we had tried to start about. You know, I know some people trying to help, wanting to do some things for veterans, but you know, reentry just period all the way around the board. That's what I want my firm to be doing. That's what PM Consulting is going to do. I've had to dissolve a company with another business partner from before. That's probably one of the best decisions he's ever made. Sometimes, you know, you go inside too for God to separate you from certain people as well. It's just trying to go to the next level. Not everybody can go. I'm glad that me and Thomas are on board on the same side. You know.
Yeah, no question.
And our voices are always going to get heard. You know what I'm saying? Spiritual rehab is still on the scene, man. I'm just looking for a studio to keep recording out of. But again, my voice is going to get heard regardless, you know? So I'm just walking through the apartments here now. You know, it's hard to, I've been out a month now, man. But
I hear the birds. Yeah, we're gonna start doing more and more shows and hopefully get the weekly show going. And for the listeners, I will have the video portion of this out here on Spotify. You know, Spotify's got released now where you can, you know, view the video. You can put video on Spotify. So yeah, I'll put the video up on Spotify. YouTube demonetized me. So again, I'm not too keen on putting my stuff on YouTube and promoting their channel so much, you know, because they're doing absolutely nothing to help me survive. So but Spotify has been, man, they haven't touched my stuff at all. None of my stuff has been censored on, and there's nothing to censor. It's just discussions like this here that you and I have, but yet YouTube and everybody else wants to censor these discussions, you know, and that's the thing is these other quote unquote convict channels that have 20, 30, 40,000 subs, you know, they're being promoted by these channels because they're part of that agenda. You know, they're just exploiting the violence in prison for likes and subscribes, and it's doing absolutely nothing in criminal justice reform, you know, period. And it just adds, it just keeps that stigma going. And any convict, true convict that I know is a convict, you know what I mean? They speak out against these channels. They hate that these people are out there doing that, but yet they portray themselves to be hardcore convicts, and, you know, because that's the image. You know, that's the image that people like to see, is that tough guy, chest out, you know, I've stabbed 100 guys kind of, you know, mentality. But either way, life is what it is, partner, you know, and we just deal with what we got, and we keep the faith and we keep it pushing, man, and just try to stay out of people's way, man.
Yeah, and try to stay in shape. I will say for 39, I feel great. You know, I really do feel more healthy than I am smoking a cigarette now. But, you know, we're getting real close. You know what I'm saying? That was just a breakthrough for you. You know what I'm saying? Being able to do that play. You know, being able to be a light everywhere you go, man. You know what I'm saying? And that's like the main goal with me. I know a lot of times things can, if you let your struggle can turn you dark. And that's not really what it's for. You know what I'm saying? That's not really what it's for.
Amen, brother. Preach.
Yeah, it's not to put the lamp out. It's to turn the lamp on or make it brighter so it can light up bigger rooms. So I believe that God, you know, will put me in front of people where they're gonna hear what's going on. You know what I'm saying? They're gonna hear what's going on, because at the end of the day, you know, our votes putting people in, whether we vote or not, is going in. And, you know, these people, you mean to tell me you don't know that you're just serving some individual cold oatmeal and cold grits that you could fold up and hold like a pizza every day? Every day? And say it's nutritional? Really? Oh, okay. Or breathing in mold,
Shit. Man,
or not revising your handbook and addresses for people to be able to write things that's going on when your public defender won't come and see you.
Or even your mail being able to get out.
Or even your mail even making it to you. Come on, man.
Yep. Well, Mr. Mordecai, I got to get out here and get these people their money, partner.
Oh, yeah, man. Most definitely, man. You do that. And God bless you, man. It's always a pleasure, man. I appreciate you walking with me today, literally.
No question, man. You're gonna be able to make the 5K. I'm going up to, so for the listeners, I'm going up to Atlanta in the mid-March to do a 5K walk up there for a friend of mine, her mom's birthday. So she actually excluded me from the walk. You know, she was like, nah, he's not gonna walk, but he can go. I'm like, you know what, man? How far is a 5K? And I'm like, you know what? I could walk that. Let me walk that. And then I invited Mr. Mordecai here to join us. You coming?
Yeah, man. Hey, man. Hey, you say there's a 5K. It's for a good cause. But at the end of the day, think about all the people you can be around.
Well, that's exactly it. That's exactly it. I may go live.
I'm sure I'll walk that. You know what I'm saying? Just go a martyr and throughout the city, throughout the week. Like that ain't.
Yeah, I may go live from YouTube, man, off the cell phone and just do a walk with the people, man, on you know, see what we come across.
I think it'd be a wonderful thing.
Yeah, it's gonna be all right. They got us. I think we're wearing some lime light lime green t-shirts, man. I don't know what these people. You know how people get carried away with the stuff, but whatever, man. You know, whatever makes people feel good, man. That's what Thomas FreeMe's about. Doesn't matter. I don't care about this stuff anymore, man. People smiling and happy and communal with other American citizens. That's all that matters, man. Mordecai, you with me?
Yeah, hold on and kick me out for a second, bro. Trying to get back in. I don't know. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I can see you too, partner.
There you go. I thought I was like, oh, okay, he had to really go.
Well, you know, it's another real conversation, partner. I'm glad things are working out for you, and we got things coming, man. We got things coming. Again, it's just the awareness for my listeners. Please make sure that you subscribe to my YouTube, my TikTok, all of these. You know, show your support and your love, and make sure that you share. Tell people about FreeMe Podcast and help me. Tell them what, partner?
I was just saying, tell them, man. You know,
tell the people, man. Tell the people, because I'm bringing individuals like Mordecai and so many others that are out here really trying to bring awareness to the communities and do good things. And they need awareness. They need help, because people like us, we don't get awareness our way, because we preach positivity and good. We bring facts and truth. And this is what this cancer culture is all about. But man, be easy, man. Don't let nobody pull you off your square, Mordecai.
Oh, man, no, man. So, but let me just tell you, man, if y'all hit me up and you get a hold of my brother Thomas right there, to get a hold of me, or 770-374-3050. I'm very resourceful. You know, in a good way, I'm very resourceful, you know, when it comes to anything, reentry, or just trying to help anyone in any area that I've actually lived in, not just with it being Atlanta, but this is where I reside. So God bless y'all. Y'all keep me in your prayers. Much love to you, bro. And we're just going to take things up to a whole nother level.
You got a show too, right? Even though that you haven't produced anything in a while, but you still got content out there, right?
I still do, man. You can go on iHeartRadio, Spiritual Rehab by Mordecai. You can also go to Spotify, Spiritual Rehab by Mordecai. There's still got about 32 episodes. You can still check it out. It's still internationally known. Actually, the numbers have been downloaded and done some decent numbers while I was away. So I thank God for that. So people still being able to find it and tune in, man.
All right, man. Well, until the next time, like I say, we're going to try to start doing this weekly on Sunday, man, just to touch in and what's going on, touch bases and whatnot. And so that's the thing with me, is consistency. And I think that's probably what frustrates a lot of my listeners. I don't know, because they never respond to me, but it's because I'm all over the place. Yeah, I'll drop 4 episodes one day and then may not drop no episodes for another couple of weeks. But I urge my listeners to understand, I'm out here trying to survive. I'm dolo in this. I have nobody out here nobody markets, nobody pushes, nobody does my editing. This is all me. And then I got to turn around and drive Uber for 6 to 8 hours every day. So I just do it when I can do it. So please, I may understand your frustration, but have patience with me. But I say all that to say I do need to start coming with consistent shows weekly that the listeners can depend on them being there.
Yeah.
You know? So
most definitely.
Much love, man. Much love and respect. Take care of yourself, partner. Stay safe. Stay blessed.
All right, you too, man. Bless.
Peace.